Beyoncé van de literatuur genoemd. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Een bestseller-auteur met de status van een popster. Haar prijswinnende boeken zijn in tientallen landen vertaald en werden hits wereldwijd. 10 jaar geleden werd ze door het blad Time al uitgeroepen tot een van de meest invloedrijke mensen. Niet in de laatste plaats dankzij haar beroemde TED-talks, toespraken die miljoenen keren zijn bekeken. Zoals deze, over wat het betekent om een feminist te zijn.
We teach girls to shrink themselves, to make themselves smaller. We say to girls, you can have ambition, but not too much. You should aim to be successful, but not too successful. Otherwise, you will threaten the man.
Onderwerpen die moeilijk of niet sexy zijn, maakten ze toegankelijk en hot. Zo hot dat de echte Beyoncé haar toespraak over feminisme verwerkt in haar hit Flawless.
We teach girls to shrink themselves, to make themselves smaller. We say to girls, you can have ambition, but not too much. You should aim to be successful, but not too successful. Otherwise, you will threaten the man.
Modehuis Dior maakte er uiteindelijk zelfs een t-shirt van. Maar bovenal is ze een prijswinnende schrijver en denker die het politieke en persoonlijke moeiteloos met elkaar verbindt. Voor een paar dagen overgevlogen uit haar woonplaats in de VS. Hier is Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Do you hear your fans? Do you hear them? They're going crazy for you. Please have a seat. Wow. Did you hear all your fans going wild?
It's very sweet.
It is sweet, and it sounds like it's coming from the heart. Chimamanda, it's a pleasure to have you here and an honor to have you here. You're here for your new book, Dream Count.
Yes.
You're traveling the world with your book, talking about it. You're also the mother of a 9-year-old daughter and baby twin boys. And I'm also a mother of a 1-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Oh,
does it? Yes, we could talk about babies for the whole time. I'm just wondering, does it make me a bad feminist if I ask you now what it's like to combine all these things together?
No, it makes you a reasonable person.
Good.
But here's where you would be a bad feminist. If you didn't ask a man who has babies, how he's combining everything.
Yes.
Because I think the problem is not asking, it's that we ask only women. So we assume that only women do childcare, domestic work. And the answer to your question is I don't know.
You don't know how?
I don't know how I'm doing it. No, I'm doing it because there's a husband at home taking care of them.
Is it a struggle?
Yes. Yes, it is, because I want both, and I want both equally. So I want to be there to give them a bath myself every night. But I also want to be out talking about my book.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of find a balance.
I think this part, talking about the realism of being a parent, whether you're a female or a male, feeling the need to be at home but also do your creative work and be out in the world, it's such a relief to hear someone talk about it.
Yes.
Then it makes you feel less guilty.
Yes,
less
guilt,
worried about
yes,
it. Yeah.
Guilt is really something that I wish women would try very hard to let go of. I almost feel as though we're conditioned to feel guilt. I find myself looking for reasons to be guilty.
Don't say that.
But I'm trying. I mean, it's good to be aware of what you're doing and then to talk yourself out of it, you know?
To think about the process going on in your head.
And your children, as long as they have people who love them, they're fine. And I also think that it's very good for children to see their mothers doing something in the world. I think that's very good for children.
I agree. Living by example.
Yeah.
I agree. Let's hope we're right. You're no stranger to...
We are right.
We're right, we're right.
I grew up seeing my mother doing things. My mother was very successful, and she was a fantastic mother. And so I have proof, Eva, trust me.
Many people know you, but just to refresh their memory, let's have a look.
Actually, I didn't know what the word feminist meant for a long time, but I was one.
The award-winning Nigerian writer and author.
Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, everybody.
Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie has been listed as one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people.
We say to girls, you should aim to be successful, but not too successful.
Is there any rivalry?
He's very proud. We have a healthy rivalry.
I wish we lived in a world that were a bit more fair. And if we did, I would just be lying in bed reading poetry all day.
Right.
Chimamanda feia molts anys que teníem ganes que fos a Barcelona.
Wenn Frau Adichie mich empfängt, dann bin ich da.
Bonsoir, Chimamanda. Merci infiniment d'être avec nous. C'était un grand honneur.
Don't we want to live in a just world? So there's some men who've been convinced. More men need to be. Trevor, you should get cracking.
You've been in the public eye for more than 20 years. Does it get easier with time?
No. I mean, I'm not always in the public eye, right? So there are long stretches of time in which I'm at home, reading poetry in bed. But I think, but I made the choice to kind of use my platform. And so I don't like to talk about it being difficult because it can sound like whining. Do you know what I mean?
I understand.
But there are times when I don't want to be public-facing. There are times when I long for a kind of anonymity because it's, you know...
It's easier.
Sometimes it's easier.
It's easier.
Yes, yes.
But apparently it's more important for you to be out there sharing your mind and your thoughts than it is to choose the easy way at home.
It is. I think I have a platform. I don't think everyone has to use that platform as I use mine. But I do think it's important. I think that if I'm able to make a difference with something that I find to be unjust, I think I should. Yeah. So yes.
In December 2012, you gave a TED Talk that exploded. Nearly 15 million people have seen it. We should all be feminists. This is, I'm going to show a small part of it, a powerful part when you speak about shame.
We teach girls shame. Close your legs, cover yourself. We make them feel as though by being born female, they're already guilty of something. And so girls grow up to be women who cannot say they have desire. They grow up to be women who silence themselves. They grow up to be women who cannot say what they truly think. And they grow up, and this is the worst thing we do to girls, they grow up to be women who have turned pretense into an art form.
This was 2012. I remember when it happened. It was such an, like a vibe shift, such a monumental moment. It was an optimistic moment. I felt like it was, you made it cool and smart to be a feminist. It was a word you could use. It felt like a very optimistic time. Things were changing in the good sense. Now we're down the road a couple of years. Where do we stand now?
Oof, we don't have enough time either. First of all, I'm always horrified hearing my own voice. It just makes me, it's just horrifying.
Everyone has that, but you just have to listen to yourself more than you start forgetting.
No, less. Where are we now?
With feminism, where do we stand now?
I think in some ways it feels to me that the Me Too movement was a kind of, we took 3 steps forward and then we took 2 back. And so in America, for example, I feel stunned that we are in America today talking about reproductive rights for women. Yeah. It's unbelievable. You know, it's happening and you watch it happen, but you still cannot believe that it's happening. I don't know, sometimes I don't know what to feel, you know.
Despair, lost, angry?
Anger, yes. Disappointment, but never despair. One of the decisions that I have made in the face of the kind of growing authoritarianism in the world is that I will never give in to despair. And I think that human history, if we look back at our history, authoritarianism never wins. And, you know, it might take a while, but it will pass. And so I just refuse to give in to despair. Because I think that there's so much that we have to remind ourselves of. You know, we have to remind ourselves of the human will, of that deep-seated belief in justice and all of those things, right? And also we have to remind ourselves that what is happening now is not normal. So I sometimes want to say to myself every morning, this is not normal. Because I think it's very easy when something is happening to sort of, you know, start to let go and think, well, maybe it's not that bad. It's bad. It's not normal. And I think it's important to remind ourselves of that. Is that the way to fight back, to remind yourself that continuously? I think it's one way to fight back.
And what else? What can you do?
I think we have a responsibility to know what is going on. It's very easy to want to switch off. I mean, in America, especially the first 100 days of this administration, I would listen to the news in the morning, read the news, and then by evening, something had changed, right? So now I read the news in the evening, just in case it has changed, right? But I think we owe ourselves a responsibility to know what's going on, right? Because you cannot resist what you don't know.
Don't ignore what's going on.
Yes.
Be aware.
I've been reading about civics. I want to understand how the American government is actually supposed to work. Because so many things would happen and I would think, wait, he can do that?
Yeah.
Because it just seemed to me very odd. And so even just educating myself on how things are supposed to be, I think is also a way of resisting.
Resisting. It took almost 12 years between your last huge bestseller, Americana, and this book, Dream Count, to come out. You had an incredible writer's block, maybe the longest one I've heard of in my lifetime. What happened to your beautiful brain? How could this happen to you?
I don't know. I mean, this is what I ask. I ask the universe all the time. No,
No answer.
No answer, actually. I don't even like that expression, writer's block. But I have to use it because it's what people understand.
Your brain was on having a break on writing fiction.
It was having a break that I did not want it to have, right? And it was, I mean, I can laugh about it now, but it actually was a very painful place to be. The foundational feeling about writer's block for me is helplessness. So I would sit in front of my computer. I knew what I wanted to do, but I just couldn't. I was blank. And that kind of blankness is very frightening.
Were you afraid that it would never come back?
Yes. Yes, and for me, writing fiction is the great love of my life.
What brought it back?
My mother died, and then I started writing fiction again. I don't, and I think there's a connection between the two. I don't think that I necessarily needed my mother to die before writing, but the way that I've come to understand it is that my mother helped me. That my mother left, and I think that she understood the extent of the devastation that I would feel, and so she kind of guided me back into my creative self. That's how I think.
Do you feel like you found yourself again?
Yes, it feels like coming back. It feels like coming back to meet your real self. I think my realest self is the self that writes fiction. Because in the 10 years I was writing other things, non-fiction.
Exactly.
You know.
But your big love, fiction, is back.
Yes.
You're raising twin boys, baby boys. How do you raise them to be feminists?
Oh, well, they're just one. So right now I'm just trying to keep them from biting each other. But when I'm not succeeding. Yep. But no, I do feel strong. I feel excited about the possibility of raising boys because I know that it is possible to raise good men. And I want to be very sort of intentional about it. So I'm going to start very early because I think the world gives young boys messages that are really unhealthy for them. One of which is that idea that you know, showing emotion is bad. And I'm going to tell my boys, no, emotion is good.
Feel them. And
I am also going to be very keen about how they think about women. I think that there is also this thing where boys grow up somehow thinking they have a kind of entitlement to girls' bodies, to women's bodies. My boys will not.
I can't wait to meet these boys in 20 years' time. That will be fantastic. Het boek Dream Count van Chimamanda ligt nu in de winkel. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being